Hey there guys, Jordan in the know here, and this is like my third or fourth video on the OnePlus One. I keep finding myself coming back to it. I've had my fair share of flagships in 2015, the Note 4, the Note 5, the Moto X 2nd Gen, the Galaxy S6 Edge, and the G4. And every time I get one of these phones, I just always come back to the OnePlus One every time. So this is a 1 year later review, but instead of doing the traditional 1 year later review, I'm going to give you my solid reasons why you should buy this phone, and then more or less reasons why you should stay away from this phone. Reason one above all things is battery, and I'm pretty sure that we can all agree that this generation of flagships has been pretty bad on battery, with the combination of Lollipop being so energy inefficient and more manufacturers making smaller and smaller batteries in their phone. We're looking at U 3000 mAh battery Note 5, we're looking at U S6 Edge, and really the only phone in the recent months in this generation of flagships to pack a big battery is the S6 Active. That's one phone out of the hundreds that are released a year. 1 year later, the OnePlus One can last up to 5 hours of on-screen time, which is miles better than the normal S6 or Moto X, and can last about an hour or two longer than the Note 5 and G4. The OnePlus One can last me about a day and a half, then if not more, which is what I kind of expected from a smartphone battery anyways. And this leads me to software. If you buy the OnePlus One today, it's most likely going to show up on your doorstep with CyanogenMod 11, with an update of CyanogenMod 12.1 waiting for you. And CyanogenMod 12.1 is pretty interesting in the fact that you're going to notice some subtle cyanogen changes such as pin scramble, theme store, equalizer, privacy guard, and a few others like the new launcher redesign and the cyanogen browser. And this phone still performs as if it were brand new, which is sort of expected for a phone with a Snapdragon 801, which is still a very capable processor and 3 gigs of RAM. The fluidity really shows how polished and fluid Lollipop is. Animations are fast and performing tasks is a breeze. There's really nothing to say here but the fact that this phone is just a solid performer. Whatever task that you may be doing, I think that the only place you're going to find issues is how slow Cyanogen is to updates. Users had to wait a long time for CyanogenMod 12 and even longer for 12.1, so if you're looking for a Nexus-like fast updating experience, you're most likely not going to get that here. And my third reason for staying is the design. Out of the last few phones I've had, there's been something seriously wrong with the design that's always made me want to come back to the OnePlus One. For the Galaxy S6 Edge, the issue was that it was just too thin for my taste, which translated into a smaller battery. That was the real problem. The LG-built G4 had the crappiest plastic on the face of the planet, the Moto X didn't have a big enough display for my liking, as well as a battery that was a tad too small, and I could go on forever. Not to say that the OnePlus One doesn't have its design flaws, but the good does outweigh the bad here. One of the more stupid design choices OnePlus chose is the ridiculous way of replacing the back cover. But that's also another reason why I really like this phone so much. A good 70% of the exterior is replaceable via that back cover, and paired with the glass screen protector, basically the only place that's susceptible to damage is the metal midframe. Not to mention you can swap it out with the bamboo back, which I highly recommend. And if not, the sandstone back is a great option too. I covered my sandstone in a D-brand skin just because I'm a fan of the blue carbon fiber, but other than that, it's held up great so far. But those are just the main reasons why I keep coming back to this phone. A few minor ones include the camera. While it's not incredible, it's certainly not crappy. It's better than most of its older competition like the Galaxy S5 and, dare I say it, the Nexus 6. Buttons are moderately clicky and tactile, good enough for my daily usage. Speakers are great. Being on the bottom gives it a huge advantage over being on the back, and they're still loud and clear, stereo at that. The chassis of the phone is solid and easy to hold on to. The tapered edges make it easy despite its size. And the power button, it's in a perfect spot. And while you don't get quick charge, you can get a full battery in about an hour and a half, which is good enough for my usage. 64 gig models are always available for literally dollars more, and the developer community is great with literally hundreds of custom ROMs at your disposal. Now at this point, the OnePlus One looks great. It looks awesome, looks like a deal that you can't pass down, especially for anywhere in the ballpark of 200 to 250 used on eBay. That's really awesome. Not to mention that's for the 64 gig model. But the reasons, the reasons why a lot of people are going to choose other phones over the OnePlus One. One of the biggest reasons why you should stay away is customer support. It is god awful. Thankfully, I have never had to contact customer support. Thank God, because when I just read forum posts and just constant feedback about how bad customer service is. If you break your phone, something goes wrong, they take forever to respond to your tickets. They take forever to respond to your phone calls. If you heavily rely on customer support, this is definitely not the phone for you. Also, updates take a really long time to come in. It's not particularly OnePlus's fault, even though the customer support is 100% OnePlus's fault. But in terms of not getting fast updates, that's completely reliant on Cyanogen Inc. They are notorious for being slow for updates, and I'm sorry, OnePlus, if you didn't know that Cyanogen was gonna treat your product like this. I'm sorry, but at the same time, that is still an issue. Another reason you should stay away from this phone is the display. Now, there's really nothing wrong with it. It's crisp, it's sharp, and I'd be 100% satisfied if it weren't for the fact that OnePlus is using a really old capacitive touch technology. And long story short, if there are any cracks in the display, there's capacitive sensors underneath this panel. If there are any cracks that break this sensitivity, these sensors here, touch isn't going to be detected on this display at all. This is going to be a completely unresponsive phone if you crack the screen. So that's a big issue. A lot of people crack their phones. A lot of people accidentally, mind you, crack their phones. And to have a completely unresponsive phone in the case of a crack is gonna be unacceptable for some people. Me, I never crack my phones. I mean, well, knock on wood, but I normally never crack my phones, so I'm not really too worried about it. But if you know you're not gonna be careful, you should seriously avoid this phone. And those are pretty much the biggest issues with this phone. A few minor ones include the really crappy capacitive buttons that are way too dim and sometimes have a hard time detecting touch, so I just use the on-screen keys at all times. There's a very mediocre vibration motor, and the way that the display is raised makes glass screen protectors start to chip on the corners and look crappy after a few days. But all these problems I can look past. Thanks to its 64 gig variant, it's very competitive price and very compelling build. So should you buy this phone? At this point, 1 year later, I would say yes. Over what phones? The Moto X, the S5. Man, I would say the Nexus 6, but oh my gosh, I know that I'm gonna get so much hate for saying this, but I think I'd buy the OnePlus One over the Nexus 6. Buy it over the G3. I'd buy it over the G3. The G3 has a really crappy build quality, and Lollipop hasn't held up like very well at all on that phone. That's probably, I should probably do a 1 year later review on that. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Actually, you know what? I appreciate you guys a lot, actually. The other day, this is just gonna be quick. The other day I was just, thinking like, oh my god, like YouTube is just so awesome. Like, I make videos for you guys, and you guys watch them, and you guys are like, oh my god, like, thanks for the help. And a lot of people use my videos as like a basis for their purchases, and obviously from the start people were, but I just like really recognize that now, I guess. But anyway, I'm rambling again. I always do it at the end of videos, just ramble. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.